This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Serenity Cards and Coaching. And today it's Hello Harvest. And we are going to be focusing on the Hello Harvest product and kit that I'm about to launch that goes along with that product. So these are the 4 cards that I'm going to share how to make today in order of difficulty. So we'll get to take a look at each one closer. Oh, this one is a wowzers. So we'll get to take a close look at each one as we go through. This one Wrigley had his own little bite out of, but I made others. So you guys, the product I'm featuring today is Hello Harvest stamp set, and that is available. I noticed that the dies are currently on back order. I also have the dies, although, oh, can everybody please go on mute? Everybody, if you want the dies, they'll be back, but inside of your kit, you'll get some of the main dies anyway. But this bundle is amazing, and it goes along with designer series paper. And so my kit has a little bit of everything you'll need to make the cards today. So I'll go ahead and show these as we go along, and we will start with this very first card. Now this card, I love to do black and white in October. Black's a really common color for October with Halloween and just as we start getting into fall. And I love a black and white. I think people are scared to work with black and white sometimes, but it's really bold and it's just something we can start using. So inside of your kit, you get the ingredients. Now I don't give the stamps and I don't give the ink and I don't give some of the die cuts. So inside of your kit, you're going to get a thick basic white cardstock base. That's your 8.5, your 5.5 by 8.5 scored at 4 1/4. And then you'll get actually half a pack of designer series paper, this Harvest designer series paper. And we're going to cut that to 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. We've got our basic black 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then I took this white panel and I just took it in a tiny 1/8 of an inch. I just love that look right now. It's just a really nice look where it just gives a little hint of a border. And then we'll go ahead and get everything adhered and stamped. So this first card was inspired, by the way, I'm in a swap. And if you ever have an opportunity to participate in a swap, we actually have quarterly swaps here with Serenity Stampers. If you ever have a chance to participate in one, it's just a great thing to do because you get so many ideas. And so I'll show you the swap card that this was inspired by. She actually used different colored gems. Hers was, I don't know if you can see that that's orange right there. She actually did really all monotone with just all the black and white. I'll show you that in a minute. But so you just go ahead and you kind of get your 2 layers layered, and then I've got some scrap paper here for the stamping. We're going to go ahead, we're going to stamp our sentiment, and we're going to stamp our pumpkin. And I love this sentiment, You Are Missed. It's just really, really sweet. Again, like I said, if you don't have this set and you've got some older ones, or different ones that we have right now, I mean, this could go with anything. This could go with any pumpkins that you might have, any leaves that you might have, and that's going to be true for all the cards today. So I just stamped this sweet little You Are Missed. I don't know, that just felt like the right sentiment for autumn. And then I'm going to stamp the pumpkin very simply. You guys may remember I've been playing with this pumpkin. I did some embossing with this pumpkin a while ago, but we're just going to go ahead and stamp that. Now, on the scrap paper that I give you, you're going to stamp the flowers. I've already done that. You're going to stamp the flowers, you're going to stamp the leaf, and you're just going to do it all in black. We're not going to color. We're just going to do it all in black. So I've stamped those out. I've taken, and again, I can't give you stamped images, so I give you these little scraps. You put what you want on it, but I've already stamped and die cut those. And now it's just a matter of simply adhering everything to the front. So we're going to use some dimensionals, pop these guys right on, and that's going to be our first card. We just get it all assembled and adhered. So I'll put that right about right there. Now, I've also seen these colored. I'm not featuring that right now, but I've also seen these colored, and it's very, very sweet sunflower color. So I'm going to get that leaf tucked in. I did both of these on dimensionals, and I kind of tucked that in under right there. Put this sweet little bow on it. Go ahead and adhere that right there. Put your couple of gems on it, and that's your sweet card. And you're going to get plenty of these gems. You're going to get half a pack of these gems, and there's some craft leaves that go with them as well. So that's your sweet card, and I will show you the design inspiration because it was really beautiful. And I've got that right here. So I'm in a swap, I told you, and I love to really participate in great swaps. And then I kind of learn and I leverage, but then I always try to make it my own. So I wanted that extra little pop of color, but she did it. She's got, of course, that 2-inch strip right there, color and contour. She used gems, clear, like iridescent gems, and this silver bow. And a little tag on there. So you could go either way with that, but that is our first card. So that's your first card. And then on the back,
it's beautiful.
Thank you. Isn't it just, Doris, I was kind of thinking of you with black and white because you love black and white.
I do love black and white. It's stunning.
Yeah, it's just bold but simple. And then you are missed. How sweet is that to send to somebody, right? So, okay. So that's our first card. And we're going to get progressively more difficult. So let's get to the next one. This next one is a fun fold. And who can tell me what color that is? Do you guys know what color that is? It is.
Is it cherry cobbler?
It is. Doesn't it look like cherry cobbler? It is not. And you know what? Now I'm having a mental. I know what it is. It's Mary Merlot. It's Mary Merlot.
Oh.
And you guys, this might be the second time I've ever used it, right? But doesn't it just look so good with these colors, right? I love this paper. This is that Rustic Harvest. You get half a pack of that in the kit. And so I'm going to show you how to make this kit card. Now this card is using an embossing folder that we might not have seen out in a while. It's the Pretty Flowers, and oh my goodness, I just thought it was perfect with the flowers. So we're using that embossing folder, and we've got our card base. I've got the measurements in the PDF. Let me see if I can look really quickly. The measurements are, oh gosh, it's oh, you know what? I don't have it. Sorry, I will look that up in a second. But I've got, basically, it's your 4 1/4. This right here is 2 3/4 plus 5 1/2, whatever that math equals. So, and then I ran one piece of the embossing folder through. I cut it so one could fit there and one could fit there. And then we'll just line the inside with this basic white. And then I'll show you how we adhere the rest of it. I'm going to go ahead, and I think I heard someone join. Hello. I'm not sure who joined, but hello. And please, everybody, make sure you go on mute. And I heard some oohing and awing, which I love oohing and awing, I will just tell you. So thank you for that. All right, so I've got that adhered. Now this is the stitched rectangle die. Those come in all different sizes. And then this is Stylish Shapes, and I stamped the hello on it in the Mary Merlot, and I'm going to take that out and do that here. Again, this is just a color I have not used much, but it's just a great color. So I'm going to stamp my hello right there. I'm going to get it glued on, and then I'm going to show you how I placed it. So, and I did all these with without dimensionals. I don't think there are any dimensionals on this card at all. So I've got this guy here centered, and then I'm going to put, oh, you know what I realized? I didn't put the little flap. Darn it. Oh my goodness. I was so careful. I laid everything out, you guys. I didn't put a little flap. So let me just tell you, because I really want to get to the harder card and I want to get to the embossing. And I'll pull out the dimensions in a minute and just tell you those. But I adhered this guy. I adhered this guy. So I've got a nice liner on the inside. I cut some just designer series paper there. This little pocket right here, I realized I didn't make it a pocket. So but you've got your little pocket. You lay it kind of close to the edge with maybe 1/2 inch out there. And then when you're adhering your little flap right there, I only glued this guy like really up to here. So I glued it up to here, and then I put it on and I lined it way over to the left. Make sure, that's what I love about glue. You can arrange everything just right. So it's glued only about halfway, just like that. So then when I go to put my pocket fold in, then it's going to tuck under really nicely. And so you know how sometimes you get those pocket folds and things are popping out and can't really quite control them. In this case, it tucks under really nicely and it lays really flat and it mails really nicely. So let me just get those dimensions for you right now. You'll also have them in the kit. I also have the PDF available. But basically, this guy is going to be, well, I better measure it because I cut it wrong. Sorry about that. I was so careful too. So it's 3 1/4 times 2 is 6 1/2. 6 1/2 score at 3 1/4. 6 1/2 score at 3 1/4. And then you're going to make your DSP just a little bit smaller to fit on there. Now I did do one other final little touch just in case, like I cut the butterfly for this one and I cut the butterfly off a little bit, right? So I die cut from the Brilliant Wings butterflies and I could very nicely adhere a little butterfly right there. So that's something that'll be included in your packet as well. But anyway, you'll get all the right size ingredients, all the right size everything. And if you have any questions on these measurements, I can get those for you. I really want to get to focusing on the next 2 hardest cards, so I'm going to do that. So let's get to it. So then there's this guy. Now this guy, look how amazing this guy is. I love this card. Oh my goodness, look how amazing. So, and then it opens and you can decorate the inside as well. Now this came in a swap, and so I really had to very carefully reverse engineer it. This came in a swap like this. And so I really had to go inside and measure it, and I've made it, and I'm like, where is it complicated? So I'm going to tell you the tips and tricks on this guy. But look at that. And those of you that got the hippos and the paper with bingo, you could follow along with the same measurements that are going to be in this PDF, and you could make this guy if you wanted. He's really, really, it's a little bit involved. So we start with, and again, your kit will have exactly all of this. Like you won't have to cut. You cut your designer series paper. It'll have all the cardstock. So, and everything will be folded and scored. So you can just kind of follow along with it. And what I try to do in my kits is I try to have you learn as you go, right? So do it once with me having done the cutting and of all the difficult parts. And then you can come in after the fact. And then if you want to make it again, you can. So you're going to pop your inside liner. That's going to be fine. And then we are going to line up, and I've got all these measurements in the PDF as well, but we're going to line up our designer series paper, and we've got kind of a trio in the back. And I did cut these so that they line up exactly perfectly. So if you care about that, I'm not going to take the time right now, but I cut it like I had one piece of paper like that, and then I cut it so that the patterns would match exactly. But I'm just going to go ahead and get these on here pretty quickly. And then I want to show you how to adhere the band. Do not adhere the middle band. I mean the middle piece until we get these others, until we get this guy ready. So we're going to go like that, get him lined up. I do want to just kind of place it and make sure that I'm not, I want to make sure everything's centered. So I'm going to go ahead and get both of these sides placed like this. Get this guy on here. This is a really fun card to open. It's a fun card to receive, and it's a fun card to make. All right, so I've got those lined up. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this guy to the Cajun Craze cardstock, but I'm not going to adhere it to the base yet. Now this is how this guy works. This guy fits exactly between these two. So you want an exact square like this. So we're going to adhere those two guys underneath like that. And you don't want them over because I did that. I mean, I made all the mistakes for you. If you do it too far apart or too close, then it's not going to fold nicely, right? So you want it so that it lays exactly like that. So I'm going to glue both backs. Nice thing about glue for this is you can take some time to adjust it and get it just right. And it fits perfectly between the two panels that you have there. So I'm just going to look and make sure that everything is lined up correctly. So I've got it fitting between the two panels. I've got them touching, they're not overlapping. So that's working out really well. Now I can take my inside panel and I can put it in between the two. So that's going to be the trick to assembling the belly band, if you will, or I don't know, the band, if you will. That's going to be the trick. So we're going to get that guy in there. We're going to line him up. Again, glue is really your friend if you're going to do something like this. And then you can see there's a little bit of space between those two, and there's a little bit of space on the inside as well, between like the edge of the Cajun Craze and the corner right there. And then before you're done, just make sure that it's going to fold nicely so that you can kind of play with it both ways. Check your work both ways, make sure it's centered. And I like how it's placed nicely and all the folds are cooperating and working well together. So when working with fun folds, it's really good to like score all the different ways and just play with it, right? And just kind of get that construction. Now we can assemble the rest of it. So this guy's going to go on the front, and actually I'm going to glue here so that I'm not putting too much adhesive where I don't want it. And I'm going to center that just like that. So that's going to go right there. And now we're starting to see the shape of it come together, right? Like that. So we've got that guy, and then I've got, and I will cut, so I don't cut the designer series paper, but I tell you exactly their measurements. And the great news is the measurements are correct because I cut them following along with the PDF, and it's working out perfectly. So that's great news. And these guys have little 1/8 of inches. I told you I'm really liking that look right now where we have, instead of 1/4 of an inch, we have an 1/8 of an inch. And so we've got like a nice little kind of frame around it. So I'm going to go ahead and put those two on there on the front. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't think the score in the middle is necessary. And I don't think that, like, you could make that one large panel. I think it would work just fine. I don't really know why there's a score there. I kept it because that's how she did it. And I kind of like the extra texture and just the extra like interest, if you will. But really you don't have to. And so then the other thing that you're going to get with this kit, of course I grabbed the other envelope. The other thing you're going to get with this kit is you are going to get die cut leaves out of all the different designer series paper. So you're going to get leaves and little curly cues. I can do it because they're not stamped, right? So I can do die cuts. I just can't send you stamped images. So I rolled out like 2 Curry designer series paper leaves. I rolled out 3 Mossy Meadow designer series paper leaves. I rolled out 2 gold specialty paper leaves. I even went into the Regals pack. I didn't have the color for the melon, so I took rich raspberry, but it matches pretty well. And so I've got that. I've got gold. I've got mossy. And what are these guys? These are all nice little liners. that you can put all along. And you would cut those. I have the dimensions for those, but you can put nice little liners all along the inside and the outside. She actually did the extra mile. I didn't do that. She put cardstock and designer series paper. So you can really wow it up if you want, but I thought that with the black and then with the designer series paper that lined up just right nicely. And so now what we want to do is we want to arrange the wreath. And I want to take a moment and do that with you guys. So we're going to start with a mossy meadow leaf over here. And this is where I'm going to have the ribbon. And so we're going to put that, we're going to start right there. And we want to fit all these leaves. And we kind of want to have every other one. So what I do before I adhere is I go all the way around. I put all my leaves in there. I go all the way around. I make sure that I like the shape. I make sure that it's like all the right distance. I like the pattern. I like that it's every other. And so I'm going to lay it all out before I actually adhere it. And so I'm taking some time to do this so that if you make the kit, that you have a sense for how to do this as well, or if you've never built a wreath. So I'm going to go. And I'll have pictures too with the wreath just nicely balanced, but I'm going all the way around like this. And then the final, and what I'm doing, you may notice, I'm always putting the leaf in the same direction, and I'm putting one on top, and then the next one on top, and then the next one on top, and the next one on top. And so I want a little more fullness to it. So I'm going to give it a little more shape. And I'm going to pop that gold one in just right over here. And now I'm going to come back in and glue them all down. What do you guys think? You think that's a pretty good, pretty even, pretty good? Actually, the gold should be over, not under.
It's beautiful.
So like that. So you could, at this point, just like put some little maybe mini glue dots underneath or whatever, but I'm just going to kind of keep that right there and build as I go all the way around. And so inside of your kit, like I said, you're going to get all these ingredients. You're also going to get a few different ribbons. I love to share about our different ribbons with you. And I kind of went round and round about which color ribbon to put on here, but I ended up with, it's called linen. Oh gosh, it's called linen. It's really pretty. It's this guy. And so you are going to get, I think, a quarter roll of that inside of your kit. And so, and you really are only going to use, I think, just one for the one bow right here. So I'm building my circle and making sure it's round. I'll have a good picture of this for you, a good close-up, so that if you're coming back in, I mean, you might think, why is she taking so much time talking about a wreath? But if you've ever done one, like, look at this one right here. It's lopsided. I'm telling you, I did it in a hurry, and it's like, it's a little heavy and wonky and not even, right? So you really want to take your time. And I kind of like spread out the colors evenly everywhere, and I spread out the shape, and I'm making sure that I have the leaves going in the same direction. And I'm just gonna finish up right here. Now let's see.
Nice.
Here we
Very
go.
good.
Thank you. All right, so there's our wreath. And then we're gonna come in and we're gonna tie our bow. I know you guys love this bow maker. Those of you that have it, I love it too. If you don't know it, let me know. I'll get you some information about it. But we're gonna come in, and I did this a double bow, and so I'll show you how I do a double bow. A double bow, I've got one wrap, but then I kind of come around one more time. I do a second wrap. I like to make sure like everything's straight and not crooked, but I've got my two wraps, and then I go over, back, around. Judy, we didn't even play with it when you came that one day. We'll have to do it next time.
Offers from major booking sites.
We didn't even end up playing with it. But anyway, there's your bow. And can you guys please go on mute? I'm gonna come in and mute. How do I do it? Okay, thank you. All right, so now I've got my double bow like that. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna stamp my sentiment. I won't do it right now, just won't take the time, but I'm gonna stamp my "You are a blessing, you are such a blessing." And I love the sentiments with this stamp set. I just really do. Please, everybody mute. And I gotta figure out, oh my gosh, I gotta figure out how to mute everybody. I don't know how to do it this quickly, but I'm gonna take a moment. Thank you. So you're gonna stamp "You are such a blessing," and then you're gonna pop it in right there. And then the only final touch you can do with this is you're gonna get 3 little curly cues out of the Mossy Meadow. Those are in the dies themselves. And you can just kind of come in after the fact and just place them where it's kind of artistically interesting to place them. And so I would kind of balance it out, maybe where there aren't some green things happening. And so might kind of go like that. Maybe I could do one down here just for a little bit of interest. And so you just tuck them under and glue them, and then you've got your sweet card. So that's your sweet "You are such a blessing." You would then go around and you'd cut all these little guys, and then you would place them on the inside and the outside. And then you could decorate the inside with Very Vanilla cardstock, and then you get a Very Vanilla envelope. But I love this. And so again, I do like the hard part of cutting this for you and all these other pieces for you, so that all you have to do is the designer series paper. And really the first one, like, play with it. If yours doesn't turn out exactly perfect, you're going to have enough supplies where you could come in, use maybe some of your own cardstock, and you can try it again. But really, I'm going to sneeze. My wish is that you learn how to make this for yourself. And so, and you absolutely, I'll include a picture of this alternative. This is the hippos. So I'll include a picture of that in there as well. So that's another alternative with that. So super fun card. So I'm going to pause and clean up house just a teeny little bit and ask if there's any questions before I go to the next card. Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What's your question?
Who's asking the question? I guess I'll go. I heard somebody else too. Hi. Do you dimensionalize? I didn't catch whether you dimensionalize like the tag or anything on that. I know you don't do it the wreath. But since the bow is kind of thick, I was wondering what if you did the wreath dimensionalized. I mean, not the wreath, the tag.
That's the only thing I put dimensionals on is the tag, and that's a good question. You're absolutely right. So there's dimensionals on the tag. Good call. And I put one there and there to kind of just give it that height. Really nice question. Yeah. Good. All right. Any other questions on that? Terry, I was hoping you were going to watch because you were like, I want to know how to make that card. So I was hoping you were going to watch. Yay. All right. Okay, girls. So now really what started all of this was I told you guys I was going to teach you how to do basic embossing, and then I was going to teach you how to step it up and do a Joseph's coat. So that's really kind of the main technique I want to teach today. So let's go ahead and get started on that. This is another pocket card. Like, I just don't do simple, right? So there's that sweet "You Are Missed" again. And then these tags, you're actually going to get half a pack of them. You're going to get these gems. I'll give enough little twine to do what you want to do. But I love this pocket card, and then I love the falling leaves. And so let's go ahead and get started on that card. So here we are. I actually kind of started this one already, so in the interest of time, I'll save a little bit of time. So you've got Mossy Meadow 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. You've got your Mossy Meadow designer series paper, that's 4 by 3. You've got espresso, I think, and I've got the dimensions in the PDF, but I think it was 10 by 3, and then score at 5. So then you're going to get that guy right there. So I did early espresso because I really wanted to bring out the browns, but then I used crushed curry designer series paper and I just glued it on the top at 3x5. And then I took this pattern, 2 3/4 by 5 designer series paper, and I brought it in. And now we're going to go ahead and really learn how to do the pocket, and we're going to learn how to do the front, and we're going to learn how to emboss. So the pocket, I've got the dimensions. You just pop that inside. I like to use tear and tape right there, or you could use a little bit of glue. Really, it's not going to be that rigorous of a pocket, so you just go ahead. That'll be scored already for you, but you go ahead and adhere it, you pop it in, and then you've got a little bit of decoration for the inside. And so you've got like a little strip you're going to put if you want. Well, you would cut whatever color you wanted, and you've got like a little strip of designer series paper. Make sure the patterns face the right way. I'm famous for sometimes cutting and then I'm like, wait, that was the opposite direction. So that's that guy. And then you're going to get both the gems and the leaves, quite a few of these leaves. And so it's super fun to stamp hello on this, pop it inside, put a little bit of twine, and then that's just super, super fun, right? You can decorate with gems, do whatever you want. Now I'm going to leave this leaf out because we could also use him with our Joseph's coat technique. So let me put all this to the side. That's just basic assembly. And let's go ahead and show you how I did the leaves. The one thing I will show you on the front is I did what's called a rock and roll technique for the stamp. And so for the stamping. So let's take crushed curry and let's take my new best friend, Mary Merlot, and let's go ahead and stamp up this leaf. This leaf has had hours and hours and hours and hours of attention. He's really been quite the workhorse. So I've got my crushed curry, and now I'm going to kind of go around like the rock and roll technique is. That whole thing is covered in curry. Now I'm going to go around the edges, just the edges. And so that's your rock and roll. So I'm going to go around the edges. You can maybe even see on it. I could either do a crisp impression or I could stamp off. I'm going to choose to stamp off. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to do a couple, just some falling leaves right there. And every single time you do it, it's different. Every single time you do it, it's got just a little different way that it falls. Like might have heavier coverage, or it might have more Merlot in some places, or however you do it. So I love playing with color because every time it's just a little bit different. But so that's how you're going to do the background, and I'll have pictures of that. But basically you're going to do a couple, like a yellow and Merlot there, a yellow and mossy there, and another yellow and Merlot there. And then we're going to come in and we're going to do these amazing leaves. The other thing I did was I stamped this little kind of curly Q. I love the little shapes. There's like a little curly Q like that, and a little curly Q like that. Anyway, you guys know my PDFs have all kinds of close-ups so you can follow along. So you'll have all of those. But let's go ahead now and stamp out let's do the embossing. So, and actually this apparently is very timely because Peggy was just embossing the other day. And it's always good to kind of get a refresher and kind of, learn some things. So, all right. So I'm going to show basic embossing first. Let's see, how am I going to do that? All right. I'm going to show basic first. So I'm going to do a tone on tone because the powder that I have right now is clear. So I'm going to do a tone on tone, and I now have two embossing buddies because one of them somehow got color all over it, but this one doesn't. This is the clean one. So I'm taking my embossing buddy. Now if you don't have one, it's a great thing to have, and if you don't have one, we have an embossing kit right now that I will share, that I'm also giving away at bingo, by the way. It's one of the bingo prizes. So I'll show you more as we go through this, what the embossing kit is. But basically I've got a clean stamp. I cleaned it off over there. And I've got Versamark. So this one I'm doing tone on tone. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to use clear embossing powder. So I'm just going to show you tone on tone. So I did my Versamark. I've already actually trimmed around my stamp because my stamp had a lot of, it was a bit wider and it was getting like marks around the edges and I didn't want that. So I've already trimmed around my stamp so I have a nice clear image, and you can't really see it, but well, you kind of can. So that's tone on tone. And there we have it. But now I'm going to take my new tray, which I love, and I've got my clear embossing powder in it. And I'm going to get just the leaf covered. And the reason that just the leaf is covered is because I took time with my embossing buddy to really get a good clear surface right there. So I could come in with my brush if I do happen to see any little specks that I don't want. This looks really, really clean. One thing that people do often is just give it a good snap on the back, and then any extra powders will come out. And so, so I hate to emboss on film, but I'm going to emboss on film, and maybe you can see it as it happens. I really hope that that can happen. So let's do that. Just cover your ears, I hope. So, so I'm using, well, I'll stop talking. So there you go. That's the embossing. Now, what I do, and I have the courage to do it, because I always want to make sure that I've got it thoroughly embossed. And if I didn't, I would just do it again. So I let it cool off a little bit, and then I come in and I run my fingers over it. If powder comes off, I know I haven't done it enough, right? I also hold it up to the light and I make sure that I've got a good shine everywhere. So before I go on to Joseph's technique, I want to ask if there's any questions about embossing. Peggy, was that helpful for you? Well, and everybody, you're on mute. I know I asked everybody to mute.
Yes, I think that answered my question. I think my powder was not fresh. I need to get some different powder because my powder wasn't adhering. And I did use the embossing buddy. So, and then it just kind of like smeared. And yeah, I was just having a lot of trouble. So,
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so it's having the right tools, having current tools, and using them. So the embossing buddy is super helpful.
I have a question too.
Yeah, go ahead.
What color is the embossing powder that you used?
Yeah, okay, so this is clear embossing powder, and the reason I'm doing clear is that my next thing that I'm going to do with Joseph Coat needs clear. So it looks white, but it's clear. So that's how it shows. If it were white, so that is clear and it dries clear. If it were white, this really would have showed up white. So great. Any other questions, you guys?
Yeah, it looks good.
Awesome. All right. Now we're going to take it a next level. Now we're going to do a thing called Joseph's Coat, and we're going to do it 2 places. Because maybe you have these stamps, maybe you don't. But if you get the kit, for sure, you're going to have these leaves, right? So we're going to do a Joseph's Coat, and let me get a couple things for that. Now, to do this technique, to do embossing, it absolutely takes having tools. By the way, this is the old Stampin' Up! Tool. The new one is gray and it has 2 speeds on it. I just happened to grab this one, but I have multiple embossing tools for when I have classes. But I just happened to grab the old one. But so the first thing you need, of course, then you need the gun, you need the powder. Now to do and you need, for sure, you need the buddy. And then there's that whole kit that you could get. But now we're going to do Joseph's Coat. So we're taking it up a step, and let me show you the difference between the two. So with this guy, It's just plain. It's clear on espresso, done. With this guy, like what color was the powder? What color was the ink? What was happening there? This is actually clear powder, right? And so the notion of Joseph's coat is you do some coloring underneath, you emboss with clear, you come back in and you color on top. And so we're gonna go ahead and do that today. Now here, look at Wrigley's little bites. Oh my goodness, that little dog, sorry. Here, I only did yellow underneath. I'm going to do a different leaf and I'm going to do multiple colors. So I'm just starting with a scrap piece of paper. I've got crushed curry. So I'm going to go ahead with my crushed curry. I've got my blending brush and I wipe off. I don't really want a dark streak, right? I want kind of a lightness and I'm going to build color. So I kind of get the heavy streak off to the side and I come in with my blending brush and I'm just going to go ahead and give it a good brush. I'm also going to try it on this craft. Why not? You guys are going to get a bunch of leaves. Let's play with it. Let's see what happens. I actually haven't done this with this leaf yet, so I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to find out. So I got a little bit of color both places. Now I'm going to come in and underneath, like I said, on this one, I only had yellow underneath or curry underneath. I'm going to put a couple colors underneath. So let's put a little bit of Merlot underneath. And again, I wiped off the heavy brush because I really don't want that heaviness. So I'm going to put a little bit of Merlot right there. And same thing, I'm going to do a little bit of Merlot on this craft guy. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go around the edges. What? Let's just see what happens there. So I'm just going to kind of go around the edges and that'll be that. All right, so that's it. Now you'll see what I mean by my messy Bessie. This is my other. I don't mind messing with color, you guys. So I have a pure embossing buddy for pure colors, and then I have this guy for when I just have colors. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to use my embossing buddy. I'm going to come over here and I'd use my embossing buddy. And then on this guy, I'm going to stamp leaves again with Versamark. You guys, I happen to notice that we're out of Versamark right now, sadly. Hopefully it'll be back in soon. Right, I'm going to do one that's all yellow. I'm going to do one that's a mix. And I'm going to do one that's all Merlot. And then I'm going to do something completely different over here. I'm going to do hello on this guy and see what happens with that. So let's just try it. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, where's my hello? Let's see what happens with that. So, okay, do as I say, not as I do. That's how I clean that stamp. But I'm just going to put a hello right there with embossing powder. With Versamark. And now I'm going to come back in and you want to do this right away. The other day I sat there and I embossed a bunch of them. I Versamarked a bunch. And then by the time I went to put the powder on. So Peggy, that's another thing. Get the powder on right away. That's the other thing. As soon as you do the stamping, do the powder. Because if it sits around for any length at all, it's going to dry. So I'm coming in. And that embossing buddy is just the best, right? So again, these trays, I have one at Bingo. I'm so excited. So I'm going to come in over here and I've got hello. So let's see what happens. We're going to emboss both. Again, sorry to emboss on film, but it seemed to go pretty quickly. So let's just do it. And I forgot to show you one of the best parts of this toolkit. There's this like little tweezers. So my hands were getting really, really hot ridiculously. I could have been using this little guy to kind of hold it. It's a nice, like that's not plastic, so it's not going to melt. So that's the final thing that comes in the kit, by the way. But so if you can see, there's your hello, and wait till you see what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something really fun with that guy. And then you can see that here's your leaves. I've got yellow and Merlot, and then I've got mostly Merlot. But we're not done. When we're doing Joseph's coat technique, we're not done. So now what I'm going to do is, I can't wait. I'm going to do this guy first because I can't stand it. I'm going to wait. I'm going to do it. I want to come in with espresso. And again, you guys, I'm just making it up as I go along. The worst thing that could happen is I don't like it, right? So I'm going to come in with espresso, and I'm going to wipe all over this guy. And you're going to be like, what are you doing to this leaf? But wait till you see. So I'm wiping espresso all over it. And then I'm going to come in with a paper towel, which is across the room. So give me 1 second. So now I'm going to come in with a paper towel. I'm going to wipe my hello. And you can see like it's got a hello there. Now, I feel like those colors are too dark. I did it the other day with some yellow underneath, and I got a much different look, right? So this is that same Joseph's coat, but with kind of brighter colors underneath. So that might be a little too dark. We may not like it, or we might. But here's one, same thing. I did it Joseph's coat. I went over it with espresso, and then just look how much pop you've got, right? So that's Joseph's coat kind of with that. And now let's come back in and finish out the leaves that we're going to finish out. It's messy, right? So now my hands are getting a little bit messy. So I think I want to come in and, I mean, let's just show you like different. So I'm going to do yellow on yellow. So I could do that. And is this hard on ink pads? I guess so. I just really use my tools, and if I need a new one, I get a new one. So I think it's doing okay though. I think it's doing fine. So that would be yellow on yellow. I could have that look, or I could come in and I could do a little bit of Merlot on top of that, right? So I'm going to take my Merlot and I'm going to go like that. And so I'm going to have a little bit of a mix, and there we go. Oh, that's really pretty. Oh, that's really pretty. So there's that guy. I could throw some green. Oh, thank you. I could throw some green into the mix and kind of see how I feel about that. So I think I'm going to take more of like a peregrine. I've been doing the mossy, but maybe the mossy might be a little dark. So I'm going to take my, and I don't, like some people have blending brushes, one every color for every ink pad. I just kind of have one for greens. But I'm going to come in over here and just put some green here and kind of see how that goes. And then the paper towel is a critical step in the process, because otherwise you just have all the ink on the color and you don't see the underneath. Oh, that's really pretty too. Oh, I really like that lighter color. So good. So there you go. And then I could just come in with a final like curry over here and finish out this guy over here, and use my paper towel. And now I've got my leaves. I can do one whole sheet at one time, and then I can take it over to the die cut machine, and I can cut out each leaf, cut out each leaf, cut out each leaf. So let me pause, let me clean house a little bit, and let me see if there's any questions on the Joseph's coat technique.
That's really a process.
It is a process. Hi, Linda. It is a process.
Yes, look at you.
It is a process. Yes, it's like a little mad scientist room over here. It really is, right? So you either love it and you want to like dive in or not. It's kind of, it's just these pumpkins, right? Remember when I did this guy last time? It's kind of just, I can't stop playing with color. It's just fun. So, so any other questions or comments, I guess? So I'm going to show you a few different, like this works with all colors, right? So where'd the other one go?
They're just beautiful.
Yeah,
Aw.
I love it with the Merlot around the edge, or the colors around the edges.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Oh, that's pretty, that one on the white cardstock.
So this, if you guys want to see the evolution of a swap, I can't find the first one. I had it here. Well, anyway, I wanted to do this technique for the swap that we were just in. Those of you that were in it or that saw it, you know that this is, well, this got all wet. But anyway, this was the final one I ended up with. So these are the bingo colors. This is the bingo design. This is the bingo paper that you guys are getting. So I ended up with that kind of color scheme, right? So that was that guy. But Terry knows, Doris knows, Carol knows how long it took me to get here. First, I had this whole other card I can't even find, which is fine because I didn't love it anyway. Then I went here, which is always my go-to because I love pink and orange. It's always my go-to. I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I'm just doing pink and orange. I'm not doing any autumn colors. I'm just doing what I love. And then I was like, no, Leela. So then I kept playing and I really wanted the feeling of falling leaves. So in the catalog, I mean, I was looking everywhere. I was on Pinterest. I was here. I was there. I was everywhere. Can't find it now, but in the catalog, oh yeah, in the catalog, there was a picture of falling leaves. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to do that, right? So that's how I got the falling leaves. And then that's the evolution of how this guy came about. So, kit people, this is the version you're gonna get, and I'll make one with that little wriggly bites. It fell, and the next thing I know, he's walking around with it in his mouth. He's chewing this thing. The other day, he was walking around with a folder in his mouth, like he
Is
just.
that one in your hand? That's Joseph's coat?
This is Joseph's coat.
Okay.
Now, Linda, I only did yellow underneath on this guy.
Okay.
So very astute eye on your part. I only did one color. You could also do this on designer series paper. You could take that curry paper and do clear embossing and then just put some color around it, right? So kit purchasers, you just stamp your falling leaves, you stamp your little guys, you make 3 leaves, and then you're gonna get this espresso ribbon. And if you've never seen it, it's like suede, it's luscious, it's gorgeous. So you're gonna get some of that. You're gonna get twine bows. These are the gems you're going to get, and that's the final. So I don't even know if I can find all my cards, but while I do that, let me just open it up and see if there's any questions or comments. Oh, I know. I do have some other samples I could show you. I have other samples. So the kit is here, and I will have it programmed. I'll have the PDF available tomorrow. It's already written. I just got to take the pictures. I got to fix that one card. Sorry about that. So that'll be ready tomorrow. The kit will be available tomorrow. So that's all good news. And then in the PDF, I'll show you some alternatives. So like that, like I'll put a picture of this guy in there. It's too amazing not to, right? So I'll put some other pictures. I'll put a picture of that guy. Now he's got boo-boos on him, but that's fine. So I'll put those in the PDF. And then I do have, because I've been like a swapping fiend, I'll just show you some other cards that I got in swaps that use this same product, because you're going to get extra paper, right? So here is where I learned that technique about the fold. So here's one done a little bit differently, but there's that fold. Here's one that's got the pumpkin and the banner. We didn't even see any of that, but that's pretty. Here is, we know this card. We've done this card a million times. This one is, Carol Payne did this guy. So that's, I think that Rings paper is retired now. Here's the loaf of bread pumpkin.
Pretty. I love the twirls in the gold.
I know, right? It's copper, right? I know, so
Yeah.
pretty. And then here is like the falling leaves embossing folder, and just really sweet. Oh, I love how they did that. I don't know how they did that. Is that I think it's 2 little tags, 2 little flags, and just a rectangle. That's really pretty. And then here's another one using that leaf. And then this one's fun because it's kind of a corner fold. So so there's that guy. All right, you guys.
Wow.
I know, right? I've been a swapping fool. So those are all swaps I got. So girls and everybody, thank you for joining today. I hope you learned a lot. I'm going to stop recording. I'll come see you guys face to face and then we'll close. So